All right, we are working on the exercises here. Hopefully, you've already done the first 6 questions. You're ready for 7, 8, 9, and 10. And these are a little bit different, so that's why I kept them in a different video. The area of a circle is this. Okay, so I'm going to write up here at the top. Area is pi times the radius squared. It says find the diameter. Okay, so well I know the area is 153.9. 153.9. So area equals pi times the radius squared. Okay, I don't know what the radius is, but the nice thing is if I could find the radius, I could find the diameter because the radius is half of the diameter. So now we have to solve this, okay? So you're going to use some algebra skills here, some wonderful, wonderful algebra skills. First thing I'm going to do, I'm trying to get this r by itself. There's two things with it. There's this pi multiplied times it, and there's the squared. We're going to get rid of the thing that's multiplied by it first. Now, if you're going, I have never done anything like this before, you kind of have in algebra, but it's going to look a little bit different. First of all, treat this pi just like a number because it is a number, right? It's a weird number, but it's a number. It's the number 3.14159, and it goes on forever. So we just write the symbol to represent it. Okay, so we're going to divide both sides by pi. Now, on the right-hand side of this, these pi's would cancel out, leaving me with just r squared. On this side, now I'm not going to divide it just yet. I'm going to put 153.9 divided by pi, because if I divided it, it'd have a big long number and it would be messy and I would have to round it. And I don't want to round just yet. I'm going to wait to round until I get to the very end of the problem. When you're rounding, you don't want to round in the middle. You try to round, if at all possible, try to round at the end of the problem, not in the middle of the problem. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is we got to get rid of this squared. Now, if I said 2x equals 8, and I said, how do I get rid of this 2? We go, well, Mr. Harmless, you would divide. I would go divide by 2. Okay. The 2's would cancel. X equals 4. All right. Well, what if I, instead of 2 times an x, what if I said x divided by 2 equals 8? Now what would I do? Well, Mr. Harmless, you would do the opposite again. Opposite of multiplying was dividing. Opposite of dividing is multiplying. So I'd multiply both sides by 2. And I go, you're correct. Because the 2's would cancel, leaving me with just x equals 8 times 2, which is 16. But what if it was plus x plus 2 equals 8? What would you do then? Well, Mr. Harmless, in algebra, we do the opposite, right? Plus 2. So we subtract 2 from both sides because the opposite of adding is subtracting. And so I get x equals 8 minus 2 is 6. I think you know where I'm going with this. What if I said, what if we were subtracting 2? Well, Mr. Harmless, you know exactly what we would do. If I was subtracting 2, I would add 2 because that's the opposite. I would go plus 2. Well, if I add 2, right, x minus 2 plus 2, that's just x. 8 plus 2 is 10. Okay. Oh boy, you ready for this? So each one of these, I do the opposite, right? So what if I said x squared equals 8? How do I get rid of this 2? Each time I was trying to get rid of 2, we do the opposite. Now, I want you to think, what is the opposite of squaring something? If you go, Mr. Ramos, I have no idea. I'm going to tell you what it is right now. The opposite of squaring something is the square root. Looks like that. So the way to get rid of a squared is to do the square root. And just like all these other ones, you have to do it to both sides to get rid of it. The opposite then, just like this one, 2x divided by 2 was just x. Notice each time I just ended up with x when I did the opposite, right? The opposite of squaring is square root. The square root of x squared is just x. And then on this side, the square root of 8. All right, and then your calculator will do this and give you a number. But this is how you get rid of a squared. So let's go back. So here we have a squared with this r. How are we going to get rid of it? Well, Mr. Harmless, you just told us we would do the square root. That is correct. We're going to do the square root of both sides. And on this side, that square root of that r squared is just r. That's what I was trying to find. And on this side, we have this big ugly number, square root of 153.9 divided by pi. And you go, well, that's ugly and terrible. You're right. It is ugly and terrible. But your calculator is a pro at doing ugly and terrible. Okay. So let's turn my calculator on here. On. All right, so I need to do the square root of 153.9 divided by pi. So first of all, where's the square root key? It's above the x squared key. You see it right there, that little blue right there? So to get to anything that's up above, you hit the second button and it gives you that. Notice on the graphing calculator, it looks like this. On your regular calculators, it doesn't look quite the same, but it's very similar. Now inside of the square root, I need to do 153.9 divided by pi. So I'm going to do 153.9, and then I'm going to hit the divide by, and then I hit second, and then my pi key. So notice it looks exactly like what I was trying to find, and we got this. Now remember, this is the radius. Now before I write anything down, I know that I'm trying to find the diameter. The diameter is twice this radius. So now whatever I get here, I'm going to take this number, I'm going to do this number times 2 to get the diameter, right? Whatever this number is here. So this is going to go in here, this number is going to go down there. That times 2 is going to be this. And so I don't have to write all these out. I'm just going to, I know I did this, and then I'm going to multiply it by 2. Since this number's in here, if I just want to multiply this number times 2, and I don't want to round yet, if that's the last thing up there, if you just hit times, look, it puts the A in S, that's for answer, the answer to the previous question, 2, enter, 13.99827, round to the nearest tenth. Let me drag this down here, minimize that. So when this is a 9 and I go, okay, that means this is going to round up. Well, when a 9 rounds up, it becomes a 10, and that 1 pops over there. So it becomes 14.0, or just 14 if you want. 14.0, and it would be centimeters. That is the answer to question number 7. I know that was long, wasn't it? All right. Let's see if we can go a little bit quicker through the next one, because it's the same idea. Diameter of a circle with an area of this. Okay, so we're going to start it off the same way. 490.9 equals pi times the radius squared. And since we did all that work on that last one, we should be able to move faster through this to find this r. So I'm going to divide by pi. Pi's cancel. R squared equals 490.9 divided by pi, square root. So r equals the square root of 490.9 divided by pi. And then whatever I get there, I'm going to do it times 2 because I'm trying to find the diameter. So grab my calculator here, and let's do the square root, second, square root, 490.9 divided by pi. And then we're going to take that number times 2. Okay. So I get for this one, the diameter would be 0, right? 25 or just 25.0, and it would be millimeters. See how much faster that was? Now that we knew what we were doing, we could move through it quite a bit faster. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. Area of a circle is this, find the radius. Okay, so this one would be the same thing, just we don't have to do that times 2 at the end because we're just finding the radius. So the area, 907.9 equals pi times the radius squared. Divide both sides by pi, 907.9 divided by pi, right? And then I know I'm going to do the square root, so look what I can do. See how you can save yourself some time? So this is what I'm going to do in my calculator. So once you know what you're doing, there's little things that you can streamline. It's not that I'm skipping anything, I'm streamlining it. Square root, 907.9 divided by pi, 16.998. So this is going to, if I round, here, I'll put it down here. If I round, this 9 makes this 9 go up, so it'd be 17.0. And it was inches, so it'd be inches. And last question here. And if you haven't tried any of these, try this one on your own first. Now that you've watched 3 of them, you should be able to get this one. All right, try it real quick. Just try it. Pause me. Pause. Did you pause me? Okay. Now that you're back, 63.6 is the area times pi times the radius squared. Divide both sides by pi. And I'm going to do the square root of that r squared. So this is what we're going to plug in on our calculator. And so we're going to do second square root, 63.6 divided by pi. 4.49, so this is going to be 4.5, right? And it's feet for the radius. All right, so there's all those. We're going to move on to the second part of this, finding the area of a sector next. And so watch this next video, and I will teach you how to find the area of a sector and what a sector is.